So these are the first two modules from ZVEX. You may know ZVEX as a pedal company, and the Fuzz Factory module is based on their classic Fuzz Factory pedal, loved by guitarists and purveyors of noise and fuzz and saturation, well, world over. Really well-known company. Into Modular, they've come into Modular, but brought all the things you would want to see. We get CV over every single parameter, and we get a nice Euro level input and output on both modules, and we can put things like external waveforms in, and we get dry wet blends as well, which are CVable to create parallel processing, making these perfect for the platform. The instant lo-fi Junkie is based on the pedal, and the ZVEX site states that you can mix in sparkly, clear, compressed signal with a smashed, low-fidelity, warbled signal and listen to it become a luscious emulsification that can be blended to the most perfect depth. Achieve new, haunting chorus sounds and pulsating vibrato, unusual and fun. You've never heard anything quite like it. Nice little write-up from ZVEX, but it is what it says. It's a vibrato circuit with speed, depth, sine, triangle, and square wave modulation. A comp and a lo-fi blend. It's pretty smashed the front end, which is wicked for drums. Great for really driving things into this and then making them warble and pulse with this chorusing. The dry wet is fantastic and all CVable. Now moving on to the Fuzz Factory. The website states this is packed with knobs that let you control everything from tight and radically fuzzy sounds that gate off instantly when you stop playing, to intermodulating oscillations that fight for control of your guitar as your notes decay, to shortwave radio sounds, ripping Velcro and octave-like fuzz. Again, nice product description. It's a fantastic pedal, and this dry wet adds so much to the platform. Again, we've got this gate, a compression, we've got the stab and the drive in the fuzz circuit. We could change the ranges that we're working within, input level, which makes this react really differently. Really nice that that's on there. We have an input impedance, resistance control, and again a CV for that, which is great. Stepped modulation into this lets you per note. Something like velocity works really well to per note change the way this is going to react at the input. We can also change the fat amount, drive gate, compression, dry wet blend, and the stab all over CV. So let's get into some examples with a synth riff for the Fuzz Factory, a nice drone for the instant lo-fi Junkie, and then put some drums in to show how they both react really well to a more dynamic and percussive input as well. So here's a simple sustained drone and a nice sustained input. Long held drones, chords, or held chords on an acoustic instrument work really well for demoing the instant lo-fi Junkie. Here it is entirely dry. And this is a digital wavetable oscillator, and you can hear there's wavetable modulations going on. Let's drop the vibrato and chorus settings, speed and depth. And we're going to go over to the compressed side and take this up fully wet. I can hear a little drive and quite a push in volume from that compression. Merging over to the lo-fi side, this is going to add some tonal changes as well. We're going to lose some top end and definition. We then have speed and depth for a chorus vibrato style circuit, and a sine, triangle and square on a free wave position switch. And we've got an external wave input where we can use a different wave to modulate this as well. We can also CV speed and depth, as we can compression and lo-fi and dry wet blend next to the output as well. So let's check this out. Suitably wobbly, nice tape wobble, wonky vinyl, kind of insufficient belt drive on a turntable almost. Flicking over to a square wave, it's almost like there's a kink in the tape as it comes round. Let's check that out. Blending in a bit of dry, we'll hear a more pronounced version of the effect. Let's go back to a triangle. You can hear that like a rich chorusing now against that dry signal. Now we can get things moving with some CV. Let's CV dry wet. Take another wave into the external in as well. Simply, it's gorgeous. This is just a quick exploratory look at the thing. We're going to get some drums into it later on as well, but it really is ace. So here's a little bass riff, and we're going to use this to demo the Fuzz Factory and have, again, a quick exploratory look and a play around. Some rather filthy saturated filter movement already, a mix of a sub-square and a saw wave into this filter that's been pushed at its input. This is just the dry sound. We'll take that into the Fuzz Factory. And let's go back into my mixer and sound card. Let's explore the different settings and how interactive it all is. So that's quite a mid-focused but quite mild fuzzy drive. I mean, yeah, it's saturated, it's not that mild, but this will go bonkers. So this is a more mild setting for the Fuzz Factory. Great with that dry wet blend for some parallel fuzz distortion in the background. And there's that Fuzz Factory you'll know if you've played with the ZVEX pedals before. Again, that dry wet, and we've got CV over everything, so great way to actually get into the module. Good reason to have it in the case as well. Let's throw some CV in, see how it reacts, and create a really thick and quite nasty texture. We can back that off with the dry wet and keep that riff coming through all this saturation and fuzz. Oh yeah, filth. Absolutely filthy. So for purveyors of noise and people want to just tear your head off with disgusting desaturated tones, this is the Fuzz Factory. It's really fun. The guitar pedal version's ace. Having CV over everything in a dry wet blend really adds to the module. It's taken to everything I've thrown at it as well, and a great pairing for the Lo-Fi Junkie. With that in mind, let's patch it into the Lo-Fi Junkie. So I've come with quite extreme examples, but I think this is what they do really well. You can get the milder sort of fuzz that we can blend in, as we saw earlier. Lo-Fi Junkie is just gorgeous, rich, compressed, saturated. There's loads going on in this thing that just make it ooze loveliness, tape wobble, all that kind of thing. So let's throw some drums in and see how both of these react to some more dynamic inputs. So let's see how the modules react to some drums. Here's my dry drum sound. Rather funky little clock divider number, if you will. Let's check out the Lo-Fi Junkie. You can see my mixer here at the bottom. I'm taking my output from the mixer, on the sort of master 2 bus if you like, and coming back in, and this is just in mono. So let's turn up the Lo-Fi Junkie wet. I mean, listen to how slammed it is, it's ace. Moving the comp and lo-fi over to lo-fi introduces those tonal changes as well as that slammed compression still being part of the character. Oh, the low end's ace with that compression. With how intense that is, it's great we've got the dry wet to do some parallel compression and parallel filtering and lo-fi action as well. The weight it adds with just a little bit of wet is fantastic. Great for the drums, for that lo-fi tonal shaping and just that massive compression, and being able to back that off with the dry wet blend. Now let's flick over to the Fuzz Factory, which will be even more destruction. Let's take this dry wet, fully wet, and let's just play around. A nice kind of destructive pulling of those transients and that thick low end without being completely fuzzed up. And you can hear there how playing around with this input level and resistance has changed where that sort of focus in the fuzz is, from that low end in the kick to the top end in the other sounds. And while we've got the drums, let's not forget about this CV over everything. The reason why you would put this in modular, because you could interface the modular with pedals, that's fine, that's great, and I like doing that, but having the CV makes this even better. So just the dry wet for the Lo-Fi Junkie, which we'll check out in a second, but some nice spluttering from the Fuzz Factory. Let's just sort the input resistance out. There we go, and throw lots of CV into this thing. Not for everyone, but when you want some distortion, this is ace. Just throwing lots of random, some of it's stepped, some of it's smooth, some of it's envelope, some of it's LFOs. A little bit of that. Just spitting out some background filth and character works really well. Now let's patch from the Fuzz Factory, from the out to the in of the instant Lo-Fi Junkie, and come out of that. Now we've got some background grit and filth from the Fuzz Factory. Let's smash it through that compression and that front end on the Lo-Fi Junkie. Moving over from lo-fi to compression. Just feels super alive and gnarly. You can obviously scale these CVs back. You can make these a lot smoother, but I think this sounds ace and it's really where they excel.